Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob. I'm the founder of Embodied Philosophy, and I'm lucky enough to be here with Tamara Edwards, who is my first guest for this show, which we're calling Sonica. So just to give you a little bit of a background on kind of the intention behind this show, Sotica, if you're not familiar with that term, is related to the term sadhana, and sadhana is a term for practice or a coherent sequence of practices. It's just it's another word for practice in Sanskrit, and so sadhaka is a person who performs sadhana, and so with this particular show, we wanted to focus on, in contrast to Chitheads, which is really a show about more of the scholarship, the deep philosophy, really the kind of the how, or excuse me, the when, the where, and the what of the tradition. I really wanted Sadhaka to be more about the how and the who. And it really is, this show is a response to some requests that we got from our community to feature more voices that would really kind of talk about their personal story and explain how the philosophy and the tradition has integrated with their lives and perhaps changed their psychology or just transformed them in uplifting ways. So this show is really a response to that request. So thank you to the Embodied Philosophy community for sharing those wishes with us. And so with that, I'll get into our interview with Tamara Edwards. And actually, to give you a little bit of background on Tamara, I just met her. We just met like 10 minutes ago when she walked into my apartment. And the reason why this first episode is airing is because a member of our community reached out to me through email, somebody who's on our mailing list, and she had listened to a recent podcast interview I did with Dana Slamp on Chitheads and had said that Tamara Edwards is going to be in town, and I had mentioned in the podcast that I was looking for people to interview for this show, and she said, Tamara's going to be in New York. You have to get her on the show. So Tamara really is the reason that I've gotten off my butt and am now, starting Sonica, the show. So here we go. So Tamara, hello, first of all. How are you?
Hi, I'm great.
It's a little awkward being live, isn't it?
I love how things just work out like this.
I know, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you're leaving on Thursday, right?
I'm leaving Thursday afternoon, yeah.
And you live in LA now?
I live in LA. I live in Hollywood.
Oh, wow. But you used to live in New York.
I lived in New York for 2 years, and then I moved out of New York about last August, 1 year ago, to build the Beehive in Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a little bit in a second. Beehive is the community center and a meditation center that Tamara founded in LA. Do you miss New York at all now? Do you miss the community?
I'm here like at least once a month, if not every other month.
Oh, amazing.
So I get like the perfect dose of New York. Like I'm here this trip maybe like 5 days max. And it's like the perfect dose of New York, and then I go back to Cali.
Yeah, there's nothing like coming back to New York.
Yeah.
When you see the skyline, you're like, New York looks amazing. I want to be here. And then 5 days in. It's about 5 days in, you're feeling that stress again.
I can handle a bit longer than Vegas, but like not too much longer.
Yeah, not too much longer than Vegas. That makes sense. Okay, so we're going to talk about, your practice really is meditation. Do you also practice asana?
Yes,
you practice asana as well, but meditation is really what I wanted to talk to you about today. And it's what's interesting about your story. The bio that you shared with me. She sent me a bio before we did this interview, and she grew up in a meditation in a family that was practicing meditation, which I think is a very unique experience for someone, because for so many of us, we come to these practices really as a response to maybe a spiritual tradition that wasn't so fulfilling, or there are kind of emotional needs in our lives that are satisfied by kind of a turn to these practices. But you were really steeped into it from a very young age. So I really love to hear a little bit about that story and what it's been like for you to grow up, with this practice available to you from the minute you came out of the womb.
Yeah, well, you make it sound a lot better than it was.
Okay.
I mean, as far as just to be more specific, it was my father. My mother meditated too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember her meditating. It was my father, who is a very disciplined man, and like every day, same time, twice a day, he had his asanas and his meditation practice. And like I could be with him during his asanas, but there was a time of day where I was not allowed to go in his office. he would be meditating. That was his meditation time, and like the door would be cracked open and I could see him doing like pranayama or like some kind of breathing and going into his meditation practice.
Were you like, that shit's weird?
Yeah,
as a
little
kid?
bit, because he had he did this weird, it was a little bizarre. But the asanas, like I loved, like, you know, I've been doing bridge pose since like a little kid, or, you know, wheel pose since a little kid, and would try to do like peacock pose with him and all that stuff. But I didn't actually learn meditation until my early 20s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things that your parents did, it was your parents' thing, and you weren't necessarily that interested?
My dad, like, he didn't want to ever push stuff on us. Like, my father, I know a lot of people get pressured to go to school or pressured to go down certain career paths. My father has been very, like, this is your life, like, you choose.
Yeah.
I've always been able to I was able to choose what high school I went to. Like, they've always empowered me to make my own choices.
That's amazing.
Which is interesting because I have a really hard time making decisions. But it's
It's a good training for you then.
Yeah, it's been good. I've been learning like the pros and cons list since I was little.
Yeah.
But
so what kind of meditation did you encounter or start with when you were 20?
So my father, for my birthday one year, gave me a gift certificate to learn transcendental meditation, and on the gift certificate says, this will pay for half of your tuition to learn TM on the condition that you follow up with your teacher once a month for 6 months, and if you don't, you have to pay me back in full.
Your dad's a sassy one. I like him.
It's very sassy. So like I held on to the gift certificate for like a year, and then I remember I was like going through a difficult time. I was like in a relationship. I had been in relationships that weren't healthy, and I at the time was in a relationship that I could feel was ending, and I could also just feel like I completely lost myself and didn't know who I was. But all I knew that like who I was being wasn't who I was when I was little. Like I had lost like a lot of my like spark and smile and like energy and like my ability to just make friends with everyone. I was like kind of in a cloud. Yeah. And I remember I was on a hike with a girlfriend and just being like, I really like should meditate. Like I should learn to meditate. And I don't even think I really knew what that word meant. But I remembered I had this gift certificate that I'd gotten a year later, and I was like, I'm going to look for that gift certificate. Now, that's not to say I was never interested in spirituality, if you want to call it that, or like deeper studies. Like I would, you know, when I lived in Paris for a little while, and I like went and picked up like a book on Buddhism, and I would read things once in a while. But then I found the gift certificate. I went to the TM center. I did an introduction, like a free introductory lecture. I signed up to learn the TM course, and on the same day, I got a yoga membership. And for every day from that point, I did that every day for a while.
You did TM meditation and yoga asana?
Yeah, I started in the same week.
Wow.
Pretty much. Like I had done some yoga before, but not like not disciplines.
Wow. Wow, because most people, I mean, especially today, I mean, most people start with asana just because that's the most culturally popular at the moment. Yeah. But usually, there's usually one that started before the other. And so it's interesting that you started at the same time. That must have been really powerful for you.
It was extremely powerful. I mean, I was going to Crunch Gym for yoga, but like they had this one teacher who was incredible. Like she should, you know, she was somehow teaching there. Yeah. She was incredible.
There's some great teachers at gyms.
Yeah. And so that was incredibly powerful, but it took me a while to get consistent with with meditation.
Right. Now, for those that don't know transcendental meditation, what form of a meditation practice is it, and how does it differ from other forms of meditation?
So transcendental meditation is a mantra-based meditation. And whereas like mindfulness is a breath-based meditation, or there's like more focused meditation, where transcendental meditation, you're not focusing on anything. It's a very effortless and easy meditation where you use a mantra, which is a sound that repeats effortlessly in your mind. It's a Sanskrit sound.
And it's a sound and not necessarily a word. Is that correct?
Right. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
At least that we know.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. So then, have you practiced transcendental meditation since then? Like, have you practiced the same practice?
Yeah, well, I've always kept it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my root practice or my base practice, but I've explored a lot more since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I also practice a mantra practice, the same kind of. It
Oh, okay.
originates in Shaivism. My teacher Paul Muller
Yeah.
gave it to me, and I tried some other practices, and this was the first meditation practice to really stick with me.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
kind of
resonate
like
with
when
that.
I close my eyes, my mantra just effortlessly comes now. Like it's just kind of there, but then sometimes I'll overlay it with other things, or I'll do like a prayer. Like I'll add in like my I've explored a lot of different studies through the meditation group that I had going in New York for a while. We brought in different meditation teachers every week to lead different styles of meditations.
Amazing.
This was the Bee Society. So we'd meet every Tuesday, the same time, at a different place. So like rooftops of the Mondrian Hotel, like an art gallery. We did ones at a patio at a vape cafe.
Awesome.
Like the most random, like people's like sick lofts in New York, rooftops, and we would get together every Tuesday at 7 and meditate, and then. So we'd have different leaders come and lead the meditation. So I learned tons of different styles through that. We did that it'll be 3 years now that we've been doing that.
Wow.
So through that, I've learned a lot of new techniques, as well as like I went on a 2-month pilgrimage to India.
Amazing.
And learned there. So I've kind of like picked up things all around the world. But then what I would say is like, really interesting is the most I've learned from meditation is like intuitively. Is sometimes now I lead meditations, but it comes from a really intuitive place where I started guiding meditations maybe 2 years ago, and the first one, I think it started at Bee Society, but then the first like real ones that I feel connected to were at Burning Man. Not to like
you're a Burning Man.
Not to
you're
totally like just
awesome.
Categorize myself, but I started getting started to lead meditations from a really intuitive place where I would just close my eyes and what to say would just come to me, and I was like opening my eyes, like looking at people, like, is this working? Like, is this good? Like, how is this affecting people? And it was really powerful for other people. So I've kind of now for 2 years been exploring these intuitive guided meditations that I do for myself and for others.
Wow. So that's the style of meditation that you teach, but you don't, because am I wrong to that in TM you don't teach TM unless you're like certified TM, right?
You have to be a certified TM teacher, and you have to work for the TM movement.
Right.
But then there's also Vedic meditation, which is very similar to TM,
thing.
but
Yeah.
and those teachers are allowed to teach for themselves, and there's a whole world.
There's a whole world of that mantra meditation that
Yeah.
exists outside TM, right?
Yeah.
They've just kind of trademarked it in a certain way.
TM trademarked it.
Yeah.
And then there's Vedic meditation, with it's kind of Tom Knowles' lineage, and he studied with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was the founder of the TM
Yeah,
movement.
my teacher did as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So your teacher went off and started a different thing.
Yeah, well, he studied TM, and then he also studied under at the Siddha Yoga Ashram under
okay.
Guru Mai.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I have a lot of friends that go there.
Yeah, it's similar. It's a similar practice, a similar meditation practice.
Okay,
yeah,
I
think
didn't-
it's the same sort of Vedic mantra
Yeah.
meditation. Yeah.
So there's so many like springs that have come off that. There's a huge Vedic community in New York City, and they're doing really great work. There's so many different people who have come, and they're starting all kinds of amazing meditation groups and meditation events in New York that have come from that Vedic lineage.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
now I want to shift and ask you a little bit, because I want to have you kind of share some of your own wisdom as a practitioner that might help some of our watchers or listeners kind of enhance their practice or deepen their practice in a certain way. And I think one of the things you hear a lot is that people commit themselves to a practice, and then it doesn't feel like it's going well in this sort of like subjective sense. They don't necessarily. It's hard to sit down because they don't feel good about their meditation, and so they stop. So I'm curious, from your own story, like, has there been times when you've really struggled with your own meditation? And when you struggle with it, how do you keep at it?
Yeah. I mean,
Is that a big question?
no, it's just a real question. Like,
Yeah.
I've totally struggled with my meditation practice. especially in the beginning. With TM, you're meant to practice twice a day for 20 minutes a day, and I could only do the mornings, and like most of the time I would sit up right when I woke up in bed and like sit up and like meditate, and most of the time like fall back asleep. And then I would never get in the 4 o'clock kind of afternoon ones. And I was just at the time so hard on myself that like if I didn't do it perfectly, I wasn't going to do it at all.
Yeah.
And then like if I skipped a day, I would
Then you
skip
think
another
you've
day.
screwed it all up. Yeah.
And then I would skip another day, and then it would be this like guilt of like all these accumulated days that I haven't meditated for. And like it was and like I knew that I should meditate, but that like feeling like then I wouldn't. And it was like not pretty. It was just like it was bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
So
how do you learn to deal with that kind of neurosis about your meditation?
Yeah. So what I did was I did two things. One was with the TM, when you learn TM, you're connected with the TM Center for life. So I could go to my teacher as many times as I wanted. So I started going and checking in with her once a week. And I would go and meditate with her once a week. I think at one point I might have even said, can I just come to you every day for like 5 days in a row just to like get back on track? And she was like, yeah, come on by.
Amazing.
So like I would go and meditate with her every day. And I would meditate with her once a week. And still I would skip sometimes in between. And then for me, what was the most powerful was I went to India for, I was there for two and a half months, mostly on my own. But the first 3 weeks I was with my father. And my father has not probably missed a meditation since like the 70s. So he's so disciplined. So I was with him for the first 3 weeks, and they say 3 weeks you make a habit. And so for the first 3 weeks, I never missed a morning or an evening meditation.
Amazing.
I was with him, and the profound effects that I felt in those 3 weeks were unparalleled to my entire life. Like in those 3 weeks, actually it was like within the first 2 weeks, I changed careers from India. Like made huge changes in my health, like the way I was treating my body. It had become so crystal clear in my mind. Like I just felt this presence that I had never felt before, and this like love and compassion for my father and those around me that I never felt before within under 3 weeks of meditating twice a day. So, and that could have been the energy of India as well, but I can say that it's the meditation because I'm still doing it. But what I'll say is, so when I was in India, I meditated every day for twice a day for 2 months. I wrote every day about it, how I was feeling. And so that's so ingrained in me, like the experience I had and how powerful it was is so ingrained in me that I even wrote, like, I can never like not meditate again. Like, this is too good. Like, this is...
That's like the moment, that's like the shift in gears that we all hope will come.
Yeah.
Because it is, I mean, even now, I mean, I feel like I'm like, oh gosh, I got to sit down.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that moment in my own practice. So that's amazing.
Well, the thing is like, so after that trip, I kept it up, but now there's days where I don't meditate. And like, when I just said that, there was a little part of me that felt guilty, but overall, like I feel pretty good about it. Like, if I don't actually do my sit down, my goal is to meditate twice a day. And I know how life changing and how powerful and how much better my life is when I meditate twice a day. I'm also starting a business, and like, it's sometimes you just get sucked into the world and people, and it's sometimes very hard to take time for yourself. And I think that's part of like the practice and the lesson of like our growth is just like learning that self-care and that self-love, and knowing that when you take those like 20 minutes twice a day or once a day, that time for yourself, you'll be able to give so much more to the world and to your friends and even for yourself. But sometimes we're human and we forget, and like I've just come to a place where I feel like okay about that, and like I'll tell my dad I skip meditation now.
Before you had too much guilt about it.
Before I would be worried about his like a judgmental look, but like just because we all know that we know better, but we do the best we can. But so I would say that like in summary, to just meditate every day. If you could do that, if you could set a goal of like 3 weeks and do that every day, even twice a day, just so you can feel kind of that profoundness. Maybe if you're on vacation this summer or something like that, and then just to feel like go, like they say, like if you're gonna do a diet, like go do the diet to the extreme, just so that you can like really see if it's good for your body or not. And then like pull back, like maybe do 80, 100 or something like that. So I would say for the meditation, like just do it like extreme for a little while, just so you can like feel the full benefits and know that, like, understand develop like muscle memory or whatever it is, that this is like really beneficial for your life. And then after that,
and then also if you're like, that seems great, because if you're committing kind of short term, like you're saying 3 weeks, then it doesn't feel as daunting, right? It's like, okay, I can get through these 3 weeks of a very intense, and then in those 3 weeks, you'll actually have hopefully an experience that affirms the usefulness and the utility of meditation and how it's improving your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention the other thing that has really helped with my meditation practice, but even after all of this, there was a time where I actually I was kind of on drugs at a point. Like, it was prescription drugs. So that's why I say kind of, but they're drugs. They're more drugs than anything else. They're drugs. And I had slipped, and I was in a rough spot. I had just moved to New York. Everything that was like that I moved here to make movies, and like my career that I moved here for was kind of ending. And I had just moved to New York, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, everything's kind of not happening the way I thought it was going to happen. And I like kind of got back on these prescription drugs that I had taken like years ago. And I wasn't meditating, and I was like, what am I doing? And like, this is really honest. I don't think I've really told many people this, but the Bee Society, the nomadic meditation group I was telling you guys about, that was a project born out of some work I was doing at Landmark. And also, it was born out of that, but it was also inspired by the community that I left in LA at the time. Was like such an amazing community. And it took me 11 years to find that community, and I didn't want to wait another 11 years. So that was part of the inspiration to start that in New York. And the other inspiration was just to give something to New York. Like, I was moving here, and I didn't just want to take from the city. So there was all these reasons, but starting the Bee Society was something that I was accountable for. I had to show up to it every week, every Tuesday at 7, no matter how I was feeling. So it got me off coffee, because like knew that I couldn't. How is that
possible? I have my coffee right here, everyone. Here.
I knew that I couldn't show up to meditation and lead a meditation high on coffee or Adderall.
Oh gosh, I can't even meditate without coffee. I'm like,
so
I'm like, go to the kitchen, get my coffee, and then sit down and meditate.
Oh my god, I'm so sensitive. I can't do that. But in short, the showing up for the community every week got me back into my practice when I needed it the most. So it was the community that I had to show up for, that helped me through that hard time, that got me back on my practice. And now I rarely miss a day. And that's because I'm like opening a whole meditation wellness center. Like, I have to be in integrity with what I'm doing. So
that's such an important point, what you're saying, because I think that meditation oftentimes is such a solitary activity.
Yeah.
And because we're socialized to be so individualistic in Western culture, we often don't think, oh, I could develop a community around my meditation practice, and that's what you're offering.
Yeah.
And that groundedness that takes place when you're in a community of people dedicated to a certain practice, it's so powerful. So that's such an incredible offering that you're giving.
It's thank you. It's really cool. I mean, thank you. It's helped me so much in my own path and in my own life, the community that's come out and to meditate together. And there's so many other meditation groups in the cities that are popping up now that are really there. Like, they're great like places for people who've never meditated before to like integrate. Like, some people are timid to go to like some place like the TM Center, to go to like whatever. There's lots of places, but like they can go to these modern kind of like, they're almost like events, like a party or something, but it's around meditation. So
I like the idea of partying around meditation. That sounds great. Cool. So we're already at 25 minutes, and I promised I would try to keep these down.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to talk for a little bit longer.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you, I know you very much are it's, at the end of the day, it's like 90% practice and 10% philosophy. But I would just love to maybe hear, because I know you've done some studies outside of the actual practice itself. What has been a significant Eastern philosophical teaching that has changed the way that you live your life?
I don't know if this falls in the category of what you're asking, but I would definitely say that would be the science of Ayurveda, which comes from India. If anybody hasn't heard of Ayurveda, it's a 3,000-year-old system, basically. It's older than Chinese medicine, and it's a way of life. It's the science of life. My father is also, he was a Western physician. Like, he learned TM in medical school, but then he's been learning Ayurveda since before I was born. And I'm 31, so he's been studying Ayurveda for about 32 years.
Wow.
And
I want to meet your dad. He sounds so
yeah,
cool.
he's coming to the city tomorrow.
Oh, amazing.
He's doing consultations for people if you want one.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay. And but Ayurveda, again, I was having a lot of issues with my digestion a few years ago, or actually a while ago, and just I would get these sharp shooting pains in my stomach, and I was on coffee. I've had history with drugs, like a lot of different things. And my father just really kindly one day got on the phone with me and for hours just kind of started to break down to me what Ayurveda was.
Wow.
And then he sent me 2 books. One is called Perfect Health by Deepak Chopra.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is this incredible Ayurvedic cookbook. It's the Bible of Ayurveda, cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And the philosophy of Ayurveda is go to bed. You everything. I'll do real short. Everything is around the rhythms of nature.
Mm-hmm.
So when the sun is at the highest, that's when our digestion is at the highest. So the sun rules our digestion. Our digestion is fire. So eat your main meal at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Go to sleep by 10. Wake up with the sunrise. Eat a light breakfast because the sun is low. Eat a light dinner because there's no sun. Or eat before the sun goes all the way down. And just these 3 few basic principles changed my life. And starting to, what that really did for me was it started to bring my awareness to nature, and that we are one of nature, and we are ruled by nature. Women especially are ruled by the moon, and that starting to bring this presence and awareness to everything around us is all interconnected. And once we can start, even in these cities, once we can start to find the nature and get more in tune with the rhythms of nature, we can really start to heal ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. And, living in New York City and LA, it's maybe one of the hardest tasks because the city is vibrating at such a high frequency that it's very hard. For me, I have a terrible time going to bed early enough.
Yeah.
But when I'm, in Costa Rica doing my yoga retreat in March, and there's no electricity essentially, or very little electricity, it's the sun goes down and it's oh, of course I'll go to bed because that's what we'll do. And I just had dinner and it feels very natural. And it's so easy to fall into rhythm when you're just in it more, but at the city, it's it's a practice itself, just trying to, stay disciplined about aligning yourself with these, natural rhythms, like you're saying.
Yeah. And there's rhythms of the night, of course. And my father goes in
the night.
Oh, no. That was terrible. Yeah, there's
that'll be a separate recording. We're going to do that.
We can go on to that. That'll be in the bonus features.
Yes, bonus features. The outtakes.
Yeah, that.
So let's start to wrap things up here. One thing, sort of in line with what we're talking about. What is, one thing that I heard when I was doing this recent kind of survey of our community that kept coming up over and over is time. I can't find time. I can't find time to do my meditation. Blah, blah, blah. So are there any tips or techniques that you have that sort of come to mind that we can offer the people who might be watching this who struggle to find the time? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a real concern. We have so little time. We do. So the one thing that I would say is if you've meditated before, then you know that when you meditate, you gain time. Like when you meditate, you cultivate this presence and awareness so that the task that you do that normally might take an hour will now take like 45 minutes or a half an hour. Like, because you have created this calm, clear, easy, like nervous system mind, and you can just, it's much easier to make decisions. It's much easier to, I would say making decisions is one of the biggest things that take our time. Like if you're online, let's say you have to buy a plane ticket, you could buy your plane ticket in less amount of time. So really, like, trusting, one is just really cultivating trust with your meditation practice, and know and believe and trust that if you take those 20 minutes for yourself, it will give you back way more in return. Like,
wow.
Way more.
I think that's the best selling strategy I've ever heard for meditation. If you make time for meditation, you will gain time.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I mean, it's being proven for corporations. Like, a lot of big corporations are paying for their employees to learn meditation because they will get more profit in return.
Yeah.
Like, their employees will be more efficient at work. It's just, it's like proven these days. So, I mean, besides that, like, set an alarm, I guess. You know, like I was with somebody yesterday, and it was like 4:00, and their iPad like made this gong noise, and I was like, "What is that? Is it time to meditate?" And they're like, "Yeah." They were like, "Yeah, it's time to meditate."
It must be a gong sound as well.
Yeah, they set it for them and their kids, and it's like to remind them.
And their kids?
To remind them to do the afternoon meditation. I was
Those are some progressive parents. That's awesome.
Really cool.
That's amazing.
So that's the other one, but.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, Tamara, this has been great. We could talk forever, but
I know.
To end, will you just share with the people watching how they can learn more about you, how they can learn about the Bee Society?
Yes, thank you. So the Bee Society, well, we're in a bunch of cities. We're in London, New York, LA, San Francisco. We're not every week anymore. We're actually looking for people who want to help organize and host and facilitate the weekly meditations. But where I am 24/7 a day, besides these 5 days in New York, is at the Beehive. And that's BE, the Beehive, like to be. And it's this urban sanctuary that we're building in the heart of Hollywood. It's 7,000 square feet. It's in one of the oldest buildings in Hollywood, built in 1910.
Whoa.
It's perfectly aligned with the east and west. This building is a natural, like, it's almost like a natural Vedic temple, the way that it's built. It's built like, so it's exposed brick, has French windows all the way around it, and we get the rising sunlight coming through the east, and then we get the setting sunlight coming through the west.
Wow.
Perfectly. So the whole building gets this gorgeous light throughout the day. And then in the middle, there's this outdoor atrium, and we're building a community garden. We have 5 bedrooms right now for people to come and stay in. We have 7 rooms for practitioners of different healing modalities that are practicing out of there, like a hypnotherapist, crystal healing, body work, acupuncture, Ayurveda. And then we have a larger room where we have daily yoga, meditation, workshops, weekend workshops. It's a space to create, connect, and to be.
That's amazing, Tamara. Wow, what incredible work you're doing.
Thank you.
So those who are watching, if you're in LA or you're going to LA soon, check out the Beehive, please. I've seen pictures. I saw the website. It looks absolutely incredible. And
it's the beehive.us, US.
Yeah,
if you want to check out the website.
Yeah, not com. So thank you so much, Tamara. This has been incredible.
Thank you.
So everybody who's watching, if you are interested in being on Sonica, and I was a little nervous at the beginning, so I wasn't being as descriptive of what this show is about, but this is for the practitioner of any stripe. So we use the word Sonica in kind of the broadest sense of that term to encapsulate what Tamara is: a meditation practitioner, asana practitioner, mantra, japa, kirtan, other spiritual and philosophical modalities. If you are a practitioner of some kind of discipline, or somebody who is and you want them to be on the show, or you yourself want to be on the show, send us an email at hello@embodiedphilosophy.com. Again, that's hello@embodiedphilosophy.com. And if you want to hear more about our offerings at Embodied Philosophy, just text the word embody, EMBODY, to the number 44222. Again, that's embody, EMBODY, to 44222. And we haven't established a firm schedule for these episodes yet, so you'll just have to keep checking back to our website to get more information. So thanks again, Tamara. It's been really nice to chat with you.
Thank you. Congratulations for your launch.
Thank
This is
you.
it, right?
Thank you. This is it.
Woo!
For better or worse. All right.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. And finding the end live video button.